I like to make fun of comics. I admit it. I like to. I enjoy finding some of the things, perhaps overthinking them. That's kind of the fun. If you've ever hung out in a comic shop and just talked with people, it's fun to really deconstruct some of the things and get into some of the lunacy that goes on in comics. Those have been very, very fun discussions. So, why is making fun of comics or joking about them suddenly a bad thing now? Hey everybody, this is Perch. This is probably it's late in the day, so I'm a little bit more flippant, I think, than usual. So maybe the stuff will come out a little bit more rough. This is something that bugs me because I enjoy reading comics. I enjoy most of the comics I read, I would say, and I like making fun of most of those comics as well. In fact, I'll go as far and see if you feel the same way. Generally speaking, if I cannot make fun of any aspect of the comic, if I just read it and I have no real feelings about it, I don't laugh at some absurd thing somebody said or did or see some out of continuity goofiness, then that often means I didn't like the comic. Not that it's great. I can pick up lots of great comics that, from Watchmen to Dark Knight Returns to all kinds of stuff. And if you think about it, there's some goofy stuff there. I did this video earlier in the day about Batwoman, the new Batwoman, and basically in the last issue of Batgirl, there's this couple page montage of Barbara kind of walking through the city, and there's protests going on, and they're protesting the police, and they're protesting gentrification, and all the rest. And there's no masks. Like it's a definite COVID hotspot is Gotham, and I'm just chuckling at it because it's absurd. It's funny. It's funny that in the world where you've got clown mask people running around blowing up the city, that people are worried about gentrification. But yeah, whatever. And I can joke about that. I can make fun of it and still generally like the comic. I did generally like the comic, and that's just me. But in general, if you joke about a comic, the skin is so incredibly thin right now. The ability to take any criticism is at zero. That immediately people will go over the moon about you're a terrible person, you're the hashtag phobe or hashtag ist or whatever not hashtag hyphen. There we go. I'm tired. It just and it doesn't need to be. It's like sometimes it's fun to make fun of a comic. How many of you have watched movies, cult classic movies, and you make fun of them, but you love them? Yeah, I mean, isn't that most people? I think that is. I mean, what boring, dumb assholes are just going to watch movies and be like, I am perfectly satisfied with everything I just viewed. It is the perfect film. I shall now go and eat my, pod people soylent paste. I don't know what I'm saying. It bugs me that the ability to be kind of lighthearted and have fun about comics has suddenly been transformed into you must be terrible. Now to be clear, I'm not talking about picking up the comic and peeing on it or lighting it on fire or angrily I know there's some videos out there where people like take a comic and they slowly and methodically rip it into tiny pieces. Like I don't know. Maybe you're saying something entertaining. Maybe it's a bit that you're doing, that like kind of performance art, in which case maybe that's funny. I don't know. But I'm not talking about wishing the creators would jump off a cliff or like getting really angry about that or just losing my temper. And maybe this is something that comes with just reading so many comics and getting so many retcons and so many of everything. There is no character out there that's been around for more than 10 years that hasn't had an extremely stupid, terrible issue. I love Wolverine. Who doesn't love Wolverine? Great stuff. At one point, they devolved Wolverine into some kind of Neanderthal creature without a nose, and that was going on. And then they had him addicted to Wolverine drugs for a while. And I mean, I'm being facetious, but there's been terrible, terrible issues of Wolverine out there. Absolutely terrible. And there's also been great ones. The fact that there have been terrible ones, it doesn't take away my enjoyment of the good ones. And frankly, I guess I just have some perspective that if I pick up an issue of Wolverine, it's super, super crappy, that yeah, it'll be fine. I mean, eventually it'll be fine again. I don't know. Because I've seen it be fine and then crappy and then fine and crappy and then fine and then really super crappy and then where'd his feet go? And then over here, like his claws are bones now. I mean, they've done all kinds of shit. And generally speaking, I always have at least some faith that there will be a good issue in the future. But I'm getting a little off track. The key here is like I think it's okay to make fun of something. It's good to make fun of something. I think that sometimes that's part of the community. It's part of what bonds us together as comic fans, as readers, to be able to, check something out and say, this is absolutely absurd. And look at it, what's going on. We get really anal retentive about it. Look at this. This is not in continuity because this scene couldn't have happened before this scene. And they established in this other comic that the character is from this particular part of the planet. That's all kind of the fun, to have this trivia and this knowledge and go back and forth. And I think that a lot of people are either being disingenuous or just unfun a-holes. And you should be able to do that without people losing their shit. But I think, again, maybe it's just the time. It's 2020 now, and nobody can take a joke about anything. But, one, we should be able to do that. And people, I think, in a reasonable world, should be able to separate between, hey, this guy's being a crazy racist jerk. And, hey, this guy's making fun of, Batwoman's costume. There is a difference. Look, I mean, a lot of the Captain Marvel stuff was all over the map. But every now and then, not every now and then, they would sometimes draw Captain Marvel like bizarre. Like there were issues where she showed up and they drew her looking like she was cracked out, like one of the Rolling Stones. And it looked, and you can't help but laugh at that. You got to laugh at that. And I get you. I know that, for an artist, that's personal. And that's why I think you shouldn't, make fun of this stuff right to the face of the person who did it. But I also think you should be able to laugh about it. I mean, we shouldn't take that away from each other. And this goes back, like, I remember laughing about stuff back in the 80s. A lot of people really, and I myself included, love the 80s. Wonderful comics back in the 80s. But there were stupid things that went on there. There are plenty of stupid things that went on there. There were times, the Star Wars comic, if you collected that from the very beginning, toward the end, there was some stupid, terrible issues in there. I mean, especially toward the end of that run, that comic like went right off the cliff into just a terrible comic. I mean, there's some good memories I have of reading it. It was fun in how it was terrible, but it was. I think that it doesn't have to be so serious, and we're in a better place if we can take a joke. And I think if there's one kind of key thing that would solve the fan creator community and the divide that's taken up between them is, number one, creators, just lighten up a little bit. Sometimes when people make fun of it, just laugh along with the joke. Have a different opinion. Joke back. You can do whatever you want, but it doesn't have to be kind of the end of the world. And fans, I get that it's kind of performance art sometimes, but sometimes when you're criticizing something, you don't need to make a gigantic show of it. You can just, and I realize I'm a hypocrite saying this with my, I don't know, what video are we on? Like 1,420 videos? I have no idea. Always goes back to 420. Anyway, it's just, we can do this. Comics are fun when we make fun of them. And I guess my question for all of you is this. Do you find, if you really search yourself, search your heart, do you find that the comics that you just have nothing to say about, the ones that, you can't make fun of it, there's no jokes, there's no continuity issues for you to be debating about or kind of wondering about, there's nothing like that. Are those the comics that you just forget within days or weeks? Are those the comics that you don't care about? Isn't it the comics where there's a little bit to laugh about and a little bit to make fun of that are the ones that you tend to love the most? I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but that's kind of how I view it. I just, like, everybody needs to lighten up. It's okay. When I say everybody, I guess in this instance, I am more talking to the creators. Come on. And there's a lot of great creators who are fine with this. And I get how the criticism can go over the top and insane, like that weirdo who was tearing up the comic over in slow motion. That was just weird. But we can make jokes, and it cannot be the end of the world. And I think we'll all be happier if we do. What do you think? Like, subscribe, click the bell for notifications, blah, 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 blah. Thanks for listening.